Hello everyone, I'm Cool Guy, and welcome back to another Planet Destiny exotic weapon review. Today we're taking a close look at the Warlock's exotic scout rifle, the Tlaloc. Before we get started, I would like to thank Lazarus for letting me use their account to review this weapon. It made this review possible, and I can't thank you enough. This weapon is obtained from the gunsmith at rank 3 on your Warlock, and at rank 3, the gunsmith is going to have a quest for you that has two simple steps. Step 1 is to get 100 kills with scout rifles while having a primary or scout telemetry active, and step 2 is to receive 10 weapon parts from dismantling rare or legendary scout rifles. When completed, the Tlaloc will become available to you, and Tlaloc is for the Aztec god of rain, lightning, and thunder. The description reads, "Release the storm, hold nothing back." This scout falls into the same archetype as the Fang and the Vision of Confluence when it comes to rate of fire and impact, but this one is very special, and shortly, we're going to see how it all changes. Built in, we have Grenadier, and it's not a very flashy perk, but it does carry over into every activity of the game. When you kill something with this weapon, your grenade cooldown is reduced. With the ballistics, you have the choice of smooth ballistics, increased recoil, boost to range, accurized ballistics, more range and impact, increased recoil, and soft ballistics, less recoil, penalty to impact. I prefer to accurize because it does increase the damage of this weapon and gives you a little boost to range. The recoil is increased, but this weapon does have a great built-in recoil direction stat of 80. That helps keep it all under control, and a couple key perks later on help the stat out. First perk is Eye of the Storm. This weapon becomes more accurate as your health gets lower. Now, it's kind of debatable if it's going to help out too much because scouts are already highly accurate, and it may be ever so slightly beneficial in high-level activities when you're constantly taking a beating from the enemy. Mid-tier, we have hand-loaded to boost your range. Now, this weapon does experience damage drop-off. From changing your ballistics around to using a perk like hand-loaded, this can help get some of that damage back. But scouts are designed for range, and this one has a pretty good range stat built in. Armor-piercing rounds to over-penetrate targets, which that's decent for PvE, large groups of enemies. And then we have injection mold. Increased stability, faster handling, and reduced range. Now, the reduced range isn't too bad because I was using accurized ballistics for that increased impact and it helps out range, and injection mold to put it all together. This turns the weapon into a very middle-of-the-pack scout. Everything is about even and no real compromise is made, but with injection mold, the increased handling and stability is what really stands out. It pairs nicely with our last perk, Overflow, which this weapon has better handling, rate of fire, and stability when the wielder's super is charged. When you get your super, Overflow comes into play. You aim down sights faster, you raise your gun faster, you lower your gun faster, the gun becomes more stable, and the best part, your rate of fire becomes faster. You get the actual feeling of being supercharged when Overflow is active, and Bungie did a fantastic job with this perk and perks like it. And I was kind of skeptical when I first heard about Overflow because I thought, well, in PvP the gun's going to do about 61 to 63 damage per critical, depending on what kind of ballistics you use. Now, when it starts to shoot faster, it's going to really transform into another archetype of scout. There's probably going to be some sort of damage compromise, and no. That's not the case. Nothing changes to the weapon's damage. You're firing significantly faster and doing the same amount of damage per bullet you were doing without the perk, meaning you're going to be killing your enemies faster when Overflow is active. The rate of fire transforms into another scout class, and that class is the Mida multi-tool class of scouts. Now in this comparison, you're seeing there is going to be some human error. They are semi-automatic weapons, and the trigger pulls are going to be slightly off. So this gun's going to be kind of like the Mida, but you're going to have more damage, increased stability, and better handling. If you don't have your supercharged, this gun is very ordinary, guys, I'm not going to lie, but when Overflow is active, it turns into a whole new game. No matter where I was and Overflow was active, I did not want those benefits to go away. They were that good, and it makes it fun to run around in PvE. I was able to make short work of small groups, and I only use my super on the larger groups or a high-level enemy, and from patrols to strikes to missions to raids, this weapon can get the job done. It's that good. Now in PvP, this is where the fun starts. I felt confident in every single 1v1 situation that I got into with this weapon. It's very powerful in short to mid-long range, and I felt unrivaled at the longer distances. What I like most about this weapon in PvP is that most players tend to hold on to their super. They wait for a situation to come up to where they can get that big multi-kill. And those generally come from game modes like Controller Rift, but with Overflow, you don't have to worry about using your super as fast as possible. You can wait for those perfect situations, and this weapon handles so well, I only found myself using my super for a big multi-killer to make a play. Like in this clip, I was down 2300 to 2100 in Rumble on my Voidwalker. The match was close, and I knew I had to make up some time, so I ripped through a couple enemies with Overflow, I gained the lead, and then I saw an enemy come around the doorway behind me. I turned around, tossed my Nova Bomb, and ended up winning the game. The guy that was leading killed me at the end, and it felt really good to steal a win from him. The Tlaloc is set up for situations like this. As far as which class to use this weapon with, they're all pretty good, and I did some testing with the Sunsinger. Overflow is not active during the super's duration. However, I think Self-Revive is where this weapon is going to be paired nicely with. You can hold on to your super, and each death you take, you can scan the area to see if it's going to be beneficial to come back. If not, if you don't do it, you can just spawn right back in and Overflow is going to be active. And since you're running around with your supercharged, try to find other ways to improve your other abilities with perks and armor. Like the Stormcaller has Rising Storm. Hits with a Thunderstrike charges some of your abilities, and melee being the most important one. Pair that with feedback, incoming melee attacks fully recharges and intensifies your Thunderstrike, and then you can go a step further and add on the claws, and you can become very deadly. I also came to the conclusion that any type of boost to your agility is what makes this weapon complete. I was having great success on the Voidwalker with max agility, and I use Voidwalker mainly for its surge ability, and the Nova Bomb because it's a one and done super. I could wait to place my Nova Bomb, and I also ran the Claws of Ahamkara for 2 melee charges. I had the mindset of holding onto my super, because the gun can handle any mid to long range engagement, and I used the charges on the Claws for when enemies got in too close, and that could get my surge going. Since you aim and lure this weapon really fast, a secondary with single point sling is going to pair really nicely with it. And there are 2 big downsides of this weapon. Number 1 is you must fully have your super charged to make it useful, and number 2 is you're going to be holding onto that super and not using it. But if you have that mentality of only using that super for big multi-kills or to make a play, use that Overflow perk to your advantage, and the offset isn't that bad. You're going to find yourself picking and choosing where you want your super to go. I had a great time reviewing this weapon, and personally, I believe that the Tlaloc is a top-tier weapon. You're very powerful with it, and no joke, I had some of the most fun I've ever had in Destiny playing with it, and I encourage all of you Warlocks out there to get your gunsmith rank up to get it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Cool Guy with Planet Destiny, and one more thing, if you guys are out there and see a Tlaloc kill you in the beginning of a Crucible match, just know what's in store for you later on.